We enter India at Jagan, along the land border with Bhutan. The difference is apparent as you cross the line. A beautiful gate, but trash, traffic, rotting produce, poor streets, and poor people greet us. Here, walking is a full-time job. 80% of the population in India is Hindu. The cow is a protected animal in Hinduism, and Hindus do not eat beef. Our guide and his young assistant. We cross the Torsa River. It will eventually become a part of the Brahmaputra River in Bangladesh. The Duar Valley has great natural beauty, with vast grasslands and riverine forests. Nearby are the areas of Assam and Darjeeling, regions that are internationally synonymous with tea cultivation. These women are hard at work plucking tea leaves. Tea is an evergreen plant of the camellia family. Saplings take 3 to 7 years to mature into bushes, and those bushes can live 100 years. These women must have some strong necks. The black tea is the most popular type, followed by the green and oolong families. I have no idea what variety is being harvested here. The Coronation Bridge crosses the Tista River at its confluence with the Rangit River. It was built by the British in 1930 to commemorate the coronation of King George V. The emerald-colored Tista carves out verdant Himalayan temperate and tropical river valleys. At the end of the bridge, we find pedestrians waiting for buses and drivers who love their horns. Pineapple! Along the steep and treacherous mountain roads, monkeys were plentiful. Our destination is the hill station of Kalimpong at an elevation of 4,000 feet. The term hill station denotes a place at higher elevation that European colonial rulers used to escape the oppressive summer heat of the Indian plains. We stay the night at the Himalayan Hotel. It is a hotel of real charm and character, with an atmosphere redolent of its close association with Himalayan history. Originally built as a home for a British Foreign Service officer and his family in the early 1900s, it has remained in the MacDonald family ever since. It has been home to many Everest expeditions since the 20s. With China's annexation of Tibet in 1959, many Buddhist monks fled Tibet and established monasteries in Kalimpong. This monastery was consecrated by the Dalai Lama in 1976. It houses many rare scriptures brought from Tibet and is the first monastery I have been able to take movies in. Musical instruments are used to symbolize mantras, dispel evil, and sometimes send out the Dharma. Personally, I think the guy who wrote that musical sutra was tone deaf. Monastery interiors are filled with important religious symbols. A picture of the current 14th Dalai Lama. The conch shell represents the fame of Buddhist teaching and is used as a musical instrument during rituals. After sutra or scripture readings, the young monks head for the soccer ball. At a nearby army base, a game of field hockey. Because of the shared border with China, there were numerous Indian Army units in the Himalaya regions. Kalimpong is located in the lower Himalaya, in the Indian state of West Bengal, at an elevation of just over 4,000 feet. From here we first view Kanchanjanga, India's highest point and the third highest peak in the world at 28,208 feet. In 1900, the Reverend Graham, a Scottish missionary, and his wife founded a school for destitute Anglo-Indian students. This Gothic-style church was built to honor his wife. The high stained glass windows were very colorful. The term homes indicates the ideal setting for children in families rather than institutions. The school encompasses 400 acres. The campus is self-sufficient with its own cottages, staff quarters, chapel, workshop, hospital, bakery, playground, farm, and hostels. Shortly after the Reverend Graham established this school, most schools in Kalimpong started offering education to Indian students. Currently, the school houses nearly 600 students. Basketball seems to be popular. Kalimpong is well known for its flower export industry, especially for its wide array of indigenous orchids and gladiolas. It is not orchid season, but they are also known for cactus production. The number of varieties is amazing. Along the way, we stop at the confluence of the Tista and Rangit rivers. There is no mistaking the emerald green Tista, which forms the natural border between Sikkim and West Bengal. Located in the eastern Himalaya, Sikkim forms a natural border between Nepal to the west and Bhutan to the east. To the north lies Tibet. We arrive at our hotel in the capital city of Gangtok and are graciously greeted with tea and cookies. Note the white gloves. With a break from sightseeing, we head for Gangtok's new pedestrian mall. From our hotel, we meander the narrow streets, taking in the local color. The vast majority of the population of Sikkim, 70 to 80%, is Nepalese. English is the official language of Sikkim, even though Hindi is the official language of India. The refreshment zone includes an internet cafe. I believe they're picking out wedding rings.
Oh, that's precious.
Yeah.
Good girl. Oh, you're so pretty.
And rest for the weary. The Mahatma Gandhi Marg, or Mall, is wide and beautiful, with numerous retail stores, hotels, and restaurants. And very friendly security forces, I would add. This section of the mall is still under construction. The rock crushers are certainly hard at work. Numerous liquor stores and food marts make it one-stop shopping for dinner. The original inhabitants of Sikkim are the Lepchas. Although a small percentage of the population now, they maintain their own language, and many still practice the shamanistic religion. In Sikkim, unemployment, along with families living below the poverty level, are among the highest in India. The promotion of tourism, especially adventure and ecotourism, may help solve some of these problems. Tourists like us. Barbara just has to work those kettlebells when she's near Gold's Gym. Retail stores selling handicrafts, clothing, and religious articles, and occasionally used batteries are common. I'm not sure if Helena is trying to help or get a ride. This guy is as tired as I am. Nah, he's dead tired. Our hotel, with its Nepalese decor, held magnificent views of the surrounding valley, as well as Kanchanjanga and its neighboring peaks. The snow line in the Himalayas, or the point at which the mountains are always snow-covered, begins at nearly 20,000 feet elevation. Sikkim was ruled by kings as early as the 16th century. The monarchy was abolished and Sikkim became a state of India in 1975. Near the park is a permanent flower show that exhibits a number of native Sikkimese species. The climate in Sikkim ranges from subtropical in the south to tundra in the north. Inside this building, it is definitely subtropical. Around 5,000 types of flowering plants grow in Sikkim, including 515 types of orchids. The orchids were especially beautiful. The directorate was established to conserve the local art and craft skills. The government employs no less than 700 student workers who produce the cottage crafts and keep the arts and crafts of Sikkim alive. The rugs they are producing are of the Tibetan style. In this area, the girls are making shawls. This man is outlining Buddhist symbols on pieces of bamboo. These young men color and treat the designs on the bamboo. The finished product and ready for sale. Next, we visit the Tibetology Museum. Officially opened in 1958 by Prime Minister Nehru, the foundation stone was laid by the current 14th Dalai Lama. The museum has a vast collection of Tibetan statues, Buddhist icons, tapestries, masks, and other art objects. Along the way, we met tourists from the other parts of India. The coalition forces taking a break. From the museum, we walk up a steep hill to the Drodal Chorten. The stupa was built in 1945 by the Nyingma order, or Red Hats, the oldest of the 4 sects of Tibetan Buddhism. When people request Buddha's help, the kata, or white silk scarf, is left as an offering. Our guys head uphill, while these little guys enjoy the downhill. The vegetable and spice market was very busy. The black bars are soap. We now move on to the rest of Sikkim and the eastern Himalaya. India's national flag. A short distance from Gangtok is the Rumtek Monastery. The monastery is the exiled home of the Karmapa. The Karmapa is the leader of the Karmakagyu, or Black Hat sect, one of the 4 Buddhist sects. Behind the monastery is the monastic college. The 16th Karmapa had to flee Tibet in 1959 and settled here. He built this monastery and died in 1985. Since then, controversy has arisen, as 2 priests claim to be the Karmapa reincarnate. The result? Neither is in charge. It is constructed in accordance with the traditional architectural designs of the Tibetan monasteries. The entire structure is beautifully covered with traditional Tibetan-style paintings. 5 dogs guarding the entrance to the temple are common. The clock is not. Inside is a statue of Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha. They use the woodblock technique to reprint the scriptures. The monks reproduce many of the artifacts brought from Tibet for the Karmapa, for sale to tourists and pilgrims. At an elevation of 6,000 feet, we look down on Gangtok. Steep slopes, storybook towns, and temples that cling to craggy cliffs, shrouded by mist, make Sikkim another of the mythical Shangri-Las. This is bad karma. At our hotel in Martam, we were introduced to Chang, a frothy millet beer served in bamboo tankards and drunk through bamboo straws. Before walking the street of Martam, we had to traverse some rice paddies. Although the scenery was beautiful, walking along the paddy dikes was a real test for balance. Cardamom is a major export crop. School was just letting out.
We are from America. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Fine. Your English is very good.
Thank you.
Boys are just so different.
Handsome boy. Handsome boy.
I wonder how long it took them to make those hills of stones. At the top of the hill was a Catholic school. Averaging only 10,000 tourists a year in Sikkim means we are as much a curiosity to them as they are to us. The poinsettias are in bloom, and so is this rooster. The next morning, we board the bus for our trip to Darjeeling. I sat behind the driver, hoping my camera can capture the feelings associated with driving the twisting, rough, steep, and sometimes treacherous roads of the eastern Himalaya. Guardrails are small blocks along the side of the road, hardly protection. Washed out roads are common. Traveling on these roads gives you the feeling of riding on a horse that has gone berserk, especially in the back of the bus. Unlike this wide street, in many places the road is not wide enough for two vehicles to pass. It looks like the devil is guarding the road. Not good. Because of the geography, states in the Himalayas are the least populous in India. We check out at the Sikkim border and make our final crossing of the Whitewater Tista River. The paraphernalia you see hanging in the windshield are the driver's Buddhist good luck charms. He even has a picture of his Buddhist Lama. The driver will also burn incense for good luck. Road construction is never ending. I can't believe we squeezed by. We stopped briefly in Mangpu for lunch. Our local guide and Helena. This is another area for tea plantations and flower production. Most people we encountered did not mind having their pictures taken. These baskets are for hauling chickens. And here is the haul off to market. Another hill station city, although I would not want to live below the ridgeline on this side and miss the magnificent views of Kanchanjanga. Another very unlucky driver. We drive through the city of Goon at 7,500 feet above sea level. The streets are really narrow, as the cities in this region are built on steep mountainsides. In fact, the streets in Darjeeling were too narrow for our bus, so we used Land Rovers. We follow the train tracks of the Darjeeling National Railroad. This area is the northern part of the state of West Bengal. Annexed in 1947 after the independence of India, it was later home to thousands of refugees from Tibet. This ethnic diversity gave rise to socio-economic tensions and their demand for creation of a separate state. Darjeeling is the queen of India's hill stations. A Victorian town of old-world charm, it is almost completely surrounded by fragrant tea gardens. Our hotel for the night is the Elgin, a Victorian mansion dating to 1885. The period decor was elegant, and the service was exceptional. Close to our hotel was a busy shopping area. At the Chaurasta, or town square, we encountered a peaceful demonstration for the establishment of Darjeeling as a state separate from West Bengal. We awoke in the middle of the night, snuck by the hotel dogs, and made our way to Tiger Hill. Thousands arise early to view the sunrise and Kanchanjanga from this location. Tiger Hill commands superb views of the mountains from 8,500 feet. There are actually 5 peaks to Kanchanjanga, all over 8,000 meters. That's 26,000 feet. It was interesting and amusing to see the Indians facing east to photograph the sunrise, while the tourists faced west to photograph the view of the world's tallest mountains. The peak is believed sacred by the Buddhists. The first successful ascent was in 1955. British climbers reached the top, but out of respect for local beliefs, the actual summit itself remained a virgin, a tradition that continued until recent years. It was freezing, but the spectacular views made it all worthwhile. From our vantage point, we were also able to see the tops of the first, fourth, and fifth highest mountains in the world. The peaks from left to right are Lhotse, Everest, and Makalu. Our next event is a train ride on the 120-year-old steam run Darjeeling Hill Railway. The British built the railroad to bring tea up the steep mountain from the plantations to Darjeeling. It is affectionately called the toy train because of its smaller gauge and its 2-foot wide track. Another separatist demonstration for Gurkhaland. The decor of the passenger car is opulent, with coach lamps and plush seats. It is the highest train in India and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We are on the short tourist run to Goom, also called the Joy Train. I guess someone is drying their shoes. Kanchanjanga certainly enhances the view from the train. On our way up, we stop at the Sikkim War Memorial with its 30-foot high granite cenotaph and its 9-foot high bronze statue. The dazzling whiteness of snow and its obvious sheer and jagged peaks are paradoxically close while leaving a feeling of remoteness. In Goom, we stopped in one of the oldest Tibetan monasteries, built in 1850. We visited a refugee center that houses and trains almost 750 refugees from the Tibetan area of China. Along the road, we stopped briefly at a tea plantation. Tea from this region is prized above all other black teas. We also stopped to visit the Mountaineering Institute and small zoo. This swamp deer, or Barasinga, is on the brink of extinction. The clouded leopard is also endangered. He is a medium-sized cat, only about 50 pounds, with distinctive markings. The zoo also runs a special breeding program for snow leopards and other species that are nearing extinction. Smaller than other big cats, snow leopards have long, thick fur for living in cold, mountainous environments. Their bodies are stocky, their fur is thick, and their ears are small and rounded, all of which minimize heat loss. I believe this is a Bengal tiger. Unlike the snow leopard, which spends its summers high in the mountains, between 9,000 and 20,000 feet, the Bengal tiger prefers habitats at lower elevations. Based on the most recent census, there are fewer than 1,500 Bengal tigers living in the wild. These Tibetan wolves are of the gray wolf species. They can be found in dry, open country and in barren uplands to around 17,000 feet elevation. These wolves are also endangered and part of the breeding program. Today we are leaving the elegant Elgin Hotel, and this beautiful furball is still asleep. Driving down to the airport at Bagdogra, we are reminded of the importance of the hill stations to the British quality of life. What a relief it must have been for them to escape the oppressive heat and humidity of the plains along the Ganges River to the south during the monsoon season from June to September. The Indian subcontinent was identified with its cultural wealth for much of its long history. Its pluralistic, multilingual, and multi-ethnic society was certainly evident during our stay in Sikkim and West Bengal. We will not soon forget the friendly and helpful people of this region, the toy train, and the spectacular views of Kanchanjanga.